Guys, our Fleece Performance billet engine is officially home with the 05. Nothing left to do but to put the engine in the truck. I will say we already had some really big changes planned for running this style of engine in the truck, pushing the envelope even further, but there's a lot of little changes that we have no idea that we're gonna run into. So without further ado, let's just get to work and let's get into the billet engine going into the 05. First up on getting the engine to be able to sit in the truck would be engine mounts. So engine mounts from the old engine, we are gonna reuse. These are from Armor Inc. One thing that we did notice when we took the engine apart was these bushings. You can see this one right here. Took a little bit of an impact at one point. They've been in the truck for quite some time. Went ahead and got new bushings so we can re-bushing these engine mounts, and we'll go ahead and put those in. The one corner right here where this sits down on the passenger side needed a little bit of clearance just to sit flat up against here. Just kind of like interfered with a little bit of that drain. But we'll throw some new bushings in these, and then we should have engine mounts that will work with that engine in the truck. Got our exhaust manifold on and got our new intake manifold piece over here swapped over, because if you guys saw the last video, that's actually how we need to pick the engine up, with kind of like a little bit of a sling orientation here. The fire pump lifting bracket that we use normally really was kind of like not recommended for the aluminum side of this ordeal, so we kind of have to run some straps. So I've been trying to like go back and forth and do some of that, but we're just about ready to do that. I did realize that we probably are gonna have to take our engine mounts back off, because the extra height of this engine and the fact that the wiper cowl is still in the truck makes it a little bit of a challenge to get in. I think I am going to change my mind and cut the wiper cowl nicely to give us extra room to get this thing in and out and potentially service it. With the way that the wiper cowl is right now, there's just not a lot of room. Last year at UCC, we found out how much the wiper cowl could definitely be a pain. And a lot of people have said to cut it out, and I was against it because it just looks a little cleaner, but we can cut that and make it clean. But anyway, we are running into some differences that we didn't really account for. And again, none of this is a big deal. It all can be changed. It's just a little less plug it right in than maybe we were expecting. So fuel pumps are definitely in different locations, so that means all the routing is going to be a little bit different there. The big turbo support was actually mounted off of the oil filter housing, which this engine does not have any oil filter housing there. So the support for that big turbo is gonna have to get changed, because we are bolting that same kit back on there. I wanna put the engine in to bring it to UCC to kind of show it off, to kind of showcase it, but a lot of this stuff will need to kind of like come back out to get finalized. I'm gonna call this like the mock-up installation. So at least when we get it in here, we can kind of see it in place and see what all is specifically gonna have to change, and probably try to start ordering some fittings, ordering some stuff to kind of get it all dialed. So last year, the engine still had coolant circulating through it. So with that, you have a radiator, obviously. So we're losing the radiator because there is no coolant passage in this engine at all. It's completely solid. It does not have any cooling whatsoever. It is basically a fired up, do what you gotta do, make some power, and shut it back off and get it cooled back down. I think we kind of went over that a little bit. So radiator is no more. Now, on the old engine, and what would be normally in a conventional engine, here's your oil pan, and you have a pickup tube, and you basically have an oil sump in here, and that's where oil gets picked up through your factory oil pump, which is kind of in your gear case. This engine, as you can see, has an oil pump sitting right here. So dry sump system, there is no big pan. It kind of just pulls off of there, goes through the pump, and we have an oil tank. So we're gonna need to mount this somewhere up front. Luckily, like I said, we're losing the radiator. And one other big thing that we're changing is we are ditching the air-to-air intercooler that would basically be, I would say it's aftermarket, but it is a factory placement intercooler. We are going to this bad mamma jamma right here, this big honking air to water. The air to water is going to allow us to, you know, on the dyno racing, it's gonna drop intake temps drastically. We're gonna be able to get cold air no matter what. It's just going to be a much better way to keep things happy, make more power, keep things cooler. We did run into issues last year with going through intercoolers. I'm sure everybody saw the explosion of the one. Once we ditch the cooler and the radiator in the front, we now have this completely wide open space right in here to kind of mount all that stuff. The other thing too as well, now that I'm looking at it, is our power steering pump is going to be driven off the back of the oil pump here. So that routing is all going to change. You know, even though it is the same overall blueprint or footprint of the engine that we had last year, with those big changes and then with all these small changes, is definitely going to add up into a little bit of time. And again, it's not the end of the world. It's nothing crazy. It is just stuff that is gonna have to be tweaked and changed. And it doesn't really hurt my feelings to kind of like plug this thing in, get the mock-up stuff out of the way, see what we're up against, and bring it to UCC. That way you guys can see it. Obviously, we are not gonna be competing. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's a lot of times, you know, it's really, really not beneficial to rush things, especially this big. There's a lot of people's time in this beast. And the last thing I want to do is rush it, not have it be tested, and just try to push it there instead of taking the time, making sure things are dialed. And again, test. Last year, you know, on the dyno, we just had so many test passes, but that is what we are going to do. And I think we're about ready now. I gotta take the engine mounts back off. But again, once we plug it in, we'll get a measurement of how to cut the cowl, where we're gonna cut the cowl, get all that nicely done. But we'll take the engine mounts out now and try to kind of horseshoe this thing on in there and kind of see what we're up against. But those are some of the big changes: air to water, dry sump, oil tank system, all that stuff. So let's just keep rocking and rolling, but that is really like the direction the truck is kind of headed and what we are up against and what we're gonna kind of tackle and accomplish and get this thing in there and knocked out. All right, so this is how we are going to lift the engine up. Pretty much the same way we did when we were at Fleece, just we have to use the forklift, which means we have to kind of have this height here, which means we need to take the hood off to even fish this thing in here. So we're gonna take the hood off and then maybe possibly use the forklift to fish this thing in. She looks dang good sitting in there. Unfortunately, it's not sitting all the way in there quite yet. The dry sump oil pan and the factory cross member here, which most people will never have to deal with because you would never realistically normally put this type of engine in a factory bodied truck, but here we are because we're special. So we need to gain an inch or so down while that cross member is in the way. So there's a lot of solutions that we can do, but for now, seeing that we're just trying to get it to UCC, we might be doing a little choppy just to kind of keep mocking things up so we know where everything's gonna land. All right, well, after a little bit of grinding time, we got a chunk removed out of this front cross member here. As you can see, I didn't really like chop it all the way out. I mean, if it works and we're good on take 2 here, I might eventually on the final revision box that back in, maybe do something tubular. I'm not really exactly sure. We did add this cross member here just to make sure we've got some support back in that section there, but yeah, we should be good to go. We're about to get attempt number 2 on the billet engine inside here. We did not do the cowl yet. We're really just trying to get this thing in here for the weekend, but I think that should gain us what we need to do so and get the engine mounts back in it.
The following day.
Well, my friends, there she is. I know that I didn't take quite a bit of time showing you guys every single little thing. A little lacking on the time-lapse footage, maybe some action, but time is of the essence because we were basically, we're leaving today, like it is the next day. The engine is in. We've got our Logan built 48 trans behind it, kind of mocking everything up. But as you guys can see, our cut cross member down there fits really, really nicely now. We'll box that in. We've got our lines down here that clear. We kind of just have everything kind of neatly placed for now. That way we can get some different lengths, some different measurements. Like I said, fuel lines going from the tank to now both different locations on the CP3s. That's gonna need to be tweaked and changed. We've got our pump sitting right here for the power steering. That's gonna end up moving all the way back there, but again, we can get an idea for remounting, clearancing. This is where the engine will definitely be resting in place. Turbo kit is on. Not too many tweaks with this side of things, maybe just a couple minor, but again, we don't have an oil filter housing, so the biggest thing was supporting this massive honking turbo. We did do something very temporary, not going to be the permanent solution, but we did end up getting a support from here to there just for now. Now we've got all of this open space in here for the air to water cooler, for the oil tank. This is kind of what we were looking for as far as like space wise. I don't know if we're really gonna end up running this support with what we're gonna be really doing with the truck. I don't think entirely needed. If we do need to do something, it'll be super lightweight, super removable. We're gonna try to get rid of all of this stuff. That way, when you pop the hood, it's one big open, complete shot at just looking at this beautiful piece of artwork here. So there is quite a bit of a long road to go, but it is a really, really good mock-up test to kind of see everything in place, see how everything is going to lay out. We are ready to show you guys the beast and how cool this thing looks at UCC. We've got the gang out here just working away. We got Dawson, we got Paxton, we got Cole. Taking both rigs, we got the camper. A lot of work that goes into making all this happen. So huge shout out to everyone who helps out. Those guys especially, they're always here helping make all of this happen. All the cool little snidbits that you guys see maybe in person or on the internet don't happen without those guys just putting in a lot of time, a lot of effort behind the scenes that doesn't get shown. So huge thank you to them. It is so sick, it is so cool, it's so insane to see a billet engine in this truck. Like, I don't know if it's still actually hit me yet. It's pretty mind-blowing to see that billet sexiness in there. But anyway, guys, that is pretty much gonna wrap up this little update for you guys, getting that bad boy in. We'll keep you guys updated with the changes along the way. It looks a lot closer than it is as far as tweaks and changes, but we will get through them as quickly as possible and start getting this thing back to running and doing what it does best, and that's making power and hurting feelings. So appreciate you guys. That's a wrap. We'll see you guys in the next video. Give this video a big thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next one. See ya.